much. I wondered as you approached the table, the four of you, why my blood pressure was going up, and then I checked your backgrounds, and it turns out 3 out of 4 of you are law school professors. And it just brought me back to those wonderful days at Georgetown Law when I was praying no one would ask me a question. So the tables are turned today, and as chair, I get to ask questions of you. And the first thing I want to comment has been already noted, but worth repeating. The fact that both senators support you as a group is significant. In the nation we live in, the time we live in, a time when we're divided terribly on political grounds, the fact that Bob Casey and Pat Toomey could reach an agreement on you is quite a tribute to you and to them. We hope to encourage more of that type of conduct, and there have been good examples of it, of bipartisanship moving in that direction. And I think it's well worth noting, even if it's repeating what has been said. I wouldn't have time to ask each of you a question, but I'm going to ask Judge Perez a question. I'm very concerned about the dangerous role of ghost guns currently in play in gun violence in this country. Police chiefs and prosecutors have come to me and said, Senator, do not ignore what's going on. There are guns that you can purchase which have no identifying marks on them. They cannot be traced, and they are being used more and more in crime for that very reasons. So I want to ask you about the case you presided over this year, Judge Perez, dealing with charges related to ghost guns. In Commonwealth versus Williams, the defendant sold 15 homemade, untraceable ghost guns to a man he knew to be a convicted murderer, a person who would have been disqualified from buying a gun in ordinary commerce under the federal laws. You sentenced the defendant to 15 to 30 years of incarceration. Can you tell us more about these underlying offenses? Because I'm certain that these are cases we're going to see more of.
Thank you for the question, Senator. With regards to Mr. Williams' case, he was an individual, as you indicated, that was accused of making 15 ghost guns in the basement of his home while his daughter was present in that home. What's interesting in Mr. Williams' case is that he was a veteran of the United States military and had previously been deployed to war zones and understood the effect that firearms had on individuals, the devastation that they could cause. Additionally, he was selling these guns to an individual who was convicted of a homicide. As you indicated, ghost guns are literally impossible to track. They can be made in the basement of individuals' homes, and they are definitely contributing to the amount of gun violence that we are seeing being perpetrated within our communities.
Judge Scott, if I can ask you a question too. It says here that during your time as public defender, you tried approximately 160 cases to verdict, judgment, or final decision. As a state court judge, you presided over approximately 600 trials in the past 6 years. Is that correct?
That's actually incorrect. I've presided over many more trials than 600, almost 2,000 cases that I have presided over, many of them over 50 to verdict and over 600 as bench trials.
You have faced questions of sentencing and incarceration repeatedly. In that vast number of cases, I couldn't even start to count what they might be. We have become more and more sensitive to issues of mental illness and addiction. What can you tell us by way of advice as a judge over your lifetime of experience in dealing with that sort of a challenge?
It is a challenge, Senator. Thank you for the question. Over the past almost now 7 years as a judge, certainly I have presided over a number of cases and had to sentence individuals, a number of individuals who have had both mental health problems as well as drug and alcohol addictions. It's a significant problem in our community. It is a problem, obviously, that needs treatment. Individuals sometimes need incarceration, and in addition to their incarceration, they need to be treated while in custody with both mental health counseling, treatment, medication, as well as addiction services. And then there are times, depending on the circumstances and the need, that individuals are able to remain in the community while receiving those same services. Obviously, if those services are provided in both the mental health context as well as the drug and alcohol addiction context, it certainly will prevent recidivism in the future.
I would just speak for my state and what I have witnessed. I'm sorry to say that despite some valiant efforts by many people, the mental health treatment and addiction treatment is woefully inadequate in my state, considering the challenge. And certainly when it comes to preemptive care, we just aren't there. If we have a child who has been a victim of trauma in school, we all hope that they'll be taken care of immediately. Of course, seldom does that happen. Is that your experience?
That has been my experience. I think we are making strides in the right direction, but I do believe that there are certainly more improvements that are necessary.
To the other nominees, no disrespect, but we just had 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Senator Kennedy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to each of you.